My name is Bridget Kotsky, and I'm interviewing Amy Hill Hearth, the author of the Having Our Say book. So, Amy, how did you come to meet the Delany Sisters?
Well, back in 1991, I was writing for the New York Times, it's kind of a long story, and I'll just tell you the short version. I heard that there were these two sisters who were both over 100 years old, living 20 miles away from where I lived, and I thought, how could they both be over 100 years old? And make a long story short, I eventually, through a series of coincidences, I found them. And I interviewed them, and I wrote a story about them in the Times, which later became a book.
So, what gave you the idea to write a book?
Well, at first I just thought I would be writing a newspaper article, which is what I did for a living. And after my article about the sisters was published, I got a telephone call from a book publisher in New York, who said, gee, I just read your article, and would you be interested in expanding it into a book? Because it seems like a very worthy topic. So it sort of was just an opportunity that fell into my hands.
And how long did it take you to write the book?
Well, it was almost 2 years to do the interviews and write it and put it together. 2 years maybe sounds like a lot, but in terms of a book, it's not that long a period of time.
And do you think they had a good time remembering their past?
Yes, they had a wonderful time, and it was a joy to just be there with them while they were remembering things they hadn't thought of in a long time, and reminiscing. They had a wonderful childhood in particular, and their memories of growing up with their brothers and sisters. Was really clearly a joyful experience for them to tell these stories.
Where did the title come from?
The title, writing a title for a book is a very interesting undertaking. We held off with the title for a while with the idea that something would come to us as we were going along, which I think is a good way to do it. If you have a title too early in the process, I think it can affect what it is that you're doing. It's better to just let the process just sort of move along in the direction that it will take. And one day we noticed that Bessie was in the habit of saying, this is fun doing this book. We're having our say. And it kind of stuck, this business, having our say, and it's an old-time expression, and it just seemed right. And we were maybe 3/4 of the way through the book, and we realized she was saying this all the time, and we thought, that'd be a great title. We should use that.
What was your first impression of the Delany Sisters?
My first impression was, I was very impressed. I thought they were incredibly poised, intelligent women. I was really kind of amazed that they were as old as they were. At the time I met them, they were 100 and 102, and they were living completely independently. They didn't have any help, and they took care of everything themselves, from their cooking and gardening and so on, and I just thought they were spectacular.
And do you think you'll ever write another book on maybe a different subject?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm working on a new book right now about two people who are survivors of the Holocaust during World War II, who met under very unusual circumstances, and they've been married for 53 years, and they live in New Jersey, and I'm working on that now.
Can't wait to read it. Let's see. Why do you think the book just became so popular?
Well, it certainly was a surprise. There are more than 50,000 books published every year in the United States, and we had every reason to expect that we were going to be one that would sell a few hundred or a few thousand copies, and we would have been very satisfied with that, but it just seemed to hit the right chord with some people. There was a lot of what they call word of mouth, where people talked about it, and it sort of had a life of its own. I think that people were very interested in the sisters because of their ages, which they were, by the time the book was published, they were 102, 104. Also, they have a very it's an unusual perspective on American history, because it's the perspective of African American women from an era when very little was ever documented about their lives. But also, I think people really responded to how genuine the sisters were. Their personalities were very different, and it's kind of a fun read, and they're very charming, and I think people responded to that.
Well, I think that's about all the questions that I have, so I guess that's the end of our interview.
Well, thank you very much.